Okay, so it looks like we're waiting on just a couple more, I think, to join, right?
Karen,
Yes.
you caught me eating a Chips Ahoy cookie. When is it okay for me to get the grid thing to you that we did last night?
Whenever you get it done.
Okay, that takes a little pressure off. Okay.
Yeah. It's not like it, if you, as long as you are as long as you understand all of that, and you can get it in because we're just going to keep going forward with it because we are going to be using it.
Yes.
That's fine. If you do it over the weekend, that's fine.
Okay, great. I don't want to bog you down either, but I do get it. It's just doing
it's maneuvering through the laptop and the computer.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And I'm already much more comfortable with Mac Pro because it had been years since I used an Apple product. So, but I'm still trying to get some of the things the way they should be. And I feel like I'm playing catch up and I'm behind, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So
that's okay. You're perfectly fine. As long as you get it in by that, I would say, the weekend is good.
Okay, fantastic. You're wonderful. My stress level just went about 2 notches down. Just 2. No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any like real set time for you guys to get that stuff in. You need to get it in, but it's not like you got to have it in tomorrow because there's a lot to do. So doing it over the weekend is feasible, at least that way. All right, we got everybody here now. Let's see. Okay. Thought I saw Susan on here. Yep, there's Susan. And Dominique's on here. And I thought Okay, so it looks like there's only like 1 or 2 that haven't joined yet. So at that point, if everybody's good, we will start out. I don't know. I don't think Jesse's joining. I haven't seen him anyway. Okay. I think that's everybody, right, Caitlin? Nobody else has come in.
Looks like it, yeah.
All right.
I don't know if Jana was going to join or not, but yeah, it looks like
she said she might come in like later, like the last 15 minutes or something. She just wanted to make sure that we got Zoom going, which is a lot better now. So, but I don't think Jesse's going to join. I haven't heard anything from him, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it seems like we're good to go.
Yeah, I would think so. Let's see, just make sure. Oh, she put a reminder in about Zoom. Okay, just want to make sure And I did so. All right. So let me. Okay, so we'll start up with we'll do our start with our stand up like we do every day. So what did we cover yesterday? Who's got questions about that? Does anybody have any questions about what we covered yesterday?
We covered the 12 grid wireframing, and we used the Envision app to do our first mock of a wireframing.
What can you tell me about the grid system?
It's 12 columns.
That's right. It's
And it's 12
columns.
columns because it's easily divisible, no decimals. And eventually we will start to see grids even if we don't have one on our background in front of us.
Right. Carolyn, did you want to add?
Well, it's a really good way to make sure you stay with a wireframe, don't get carried away doing more, and that you're allowing the proper space and where the different elements are going to go.
Right.
It's
And what,
just- see it right there.
who can tell me what you need to have to start your wireframe?
You need to have a navigation bar, logo, home, shop, about, cart.
Oh.
Sorry.
Right. Yes, Brandy,
There's
that's
tons of stuff. Sorry,
Yeah.
I like reading my notes, and my notes got a little sloppy because I wrote way too much on this one sheet.
That's okay. But yes, and everybody is right as well. Susan, you're right with parameters, and Brandy's right with requirements, Bentley requirements. Yep. I think it was Latanya that said client input. So you need your requirements.
You need to know what, and there's probably is requirements, but what's the site for? What's it supposed to deliver for information? What's it supposed to do? What's the big picture? And then
Yes.
you just capture a small part of that to start.
Yeah, and that is a good, that is something that you need as well. So, does anybody have anything that they want to share?
I have a question, actually.
Sure.
Like everyone is like mentioning shopping carts and whatnot. So like, but that's just if you're having a shopping site. Like, I feel like there's so many websites
Yes.
that aren't commerce, but I feel like yesterday everything was sort of commerce focused, but we don't have to have, like, I don't know. That's just the example we used, right?
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
So the example that we're using with the wireframe, it is it's based e-commerce, so it does have a shopping cart. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be that. If
Okay.
you're doing a website, it could be for anything. So let's say like my neighbor, he does drywall. If I was going to do a website for him and start listing out his requirements, I wouldn't need that shopping cart.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Okay.
instead though, I might need like a contact form
Yep.
for somebody to contact him to get an estimate.
Yeah.
So every client is going to have different requirements. That was just an example that we were using with the shopping cart. That's
Okay.
what
I mean,
that
I
was one.
figured, I just want to make sure because it just seemed like it was very commerce
no, that's a
focused,
good-
but like,
that's-
you know, if you go to Wikipedia, that's a totally different thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a
Thanks.
good choir. Yes.
Great.
It's like you guys should be like, it's like 62 out or something, isn't it? Isn't it like crazy weather? And I'm stuck all day in a basement, so
I had a question related to yesterday. We talked a little bit about flowcharts.
yep.
So I was just wondering, I guess you would have a wireframe for each page in your flowchart, right? Is that how you would plan out like a larger website? We were just kind of doing one page yesterday, but I was kind of wondering if you'd start with the flowchart or if you'd start with like maybe a wireframe of the main page, or I was a little confused that we started with like the wireframe for a particular item that somebody was potentially purchasing rather than like the main
So
page?
You're gonna start when you start the wireframe. Ideally, that right, you would start with, if there was a login, you would start with that, and then you would go to the next page that they would see. With the flow chart, there's a couple of things that you'll. Let me see, how do I want to say this? Because you can do like 2 types of flow charts, right? You can do a flow chart that goes along with your wireframe of, okay, so the user sees the user page, the login page, they're going to click on the login page, and you can get into more detail of how that all navigates, right? With
Mhm.
your flow chart. So the flow chart can give you more detail of how your functions are going to work. If you have to call an API, if you have to give permission. So like with the login, right? If we started with a wireframe with just a login page, if you wanted a flow chart to go with that, your flow chart would start out with, say, okay, user goes to the URL to log in. And then the user's they're gonna input their information, and they're gonna input their username and password. And when they click that login button, what is that login button gonna do? That's a more in-depth flow chart. And you guys, I don't know if they're gonna, do you know, Caitlin, if they're gonna get into doing some of that or not later on?
It would depend on, I think Max is covering JavaScript, so it might come with that unit. But essentially, I don't know if it's gonna be covered, but essentially it just helps you kind of like map out a more in-depth, like the flow of the site, right? So you don't have to build a wireframe. Like say I'm building an e-commerce site. I don't need a wireframe for every single product I have. You'd need a wireframe for like a product detail page or a PDP, right? So every product detail page is going to look generally the same. You're just going to have different images, different information, and that kind of thing. So the wireframe and the flowchart work together, but they do very different things. The flowchart, I guess, like you might want to start with a flowchart, like a very basic flowchart, right? Like this is what I want my site to do. I need these types of pages. If I click this link, it's going to go here, whatever. And then you can add to your flowchart later. If I click this button, what's going to happen? I need some JavaScript now on the back end, that kind of thing. Right. So the wireframe is very front end based, very visual. The flowchart is more of like the inner workings, right? Like how things work together.
Right. So your flow chart is, so if we go based on the same login page, when they hit login, at some point in the back end, you're going to be like, okay, so I have to make sure that that's the right person and that's their information. And 2, that they have permission to actually go into this site or into a particular page. That's what a flowchart does more. But
Right.
you can do a basic one to just say, okay, yep, guess what? I have this page and, I have this button and it's going to take me here, and this button is going to take me here, and that button's going to take me there. And then your wireframe is it's the visual part of how you want it laid out and how to look at it to help you do both of those. So they do go hand in hand, but they do different things.
Yeah, I understand the basic difference between the two. I was just thinking how you would use the two, like, I guess kind of simultaneously. You would go between the two as you were planning the website. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I would start with a wireframe of like the main page when you type in the site name or something, and then make a flow chart from there, and then make wireframes for the individual pages, although obviously not for every product if it's a shopping website, but
Right.
okay.
And you would ideally make a flow chart for what each page is, how it's going to function.
Right. Right.
I guess it's also a matter of like personal preference too.
Yes.
So whatever you're comfortable using, whatever makes sense to you, that's what's going to work best, right? Like at work, I don't use a flow chart really. I see wireframes, but I don't make them. So it's all, some of it comes down to what you prefer to use.
Right. And I guess you could call them wireframes. That's what I mean. Like I see that my boss will come and he'll say, like right now I have 14 pages of images, and each page will, when you click on certain things, it'll do something different and it'll take you to the next page. So when he gives me those, at that point, I have to take and start wherever the starting point is and do a flow chart for each step that the user is going to go through, so that I know that when I start coding it out, I'm like, oh, okay, so well, I got to call this API at this point, or actually I need a button right here, so I need a click event.
Mhm.
But they do go hand in hand.
Yeah, when I was kind of the little exercise that we did before we actually replicated the flow chart that you had the picture of, I was kind of sketching out a thing with, menus across the top where you would, choose different categories of things to purchase, and you put your mouse over electronics, and it'd be like a drop down menu with like, computers, TVs, whatever it would say. And I was kind of thinking, okay, how am I going to draw that? And I was like, maybe that's something that would go more into a flow chart. So yeah, that's where I got a little.
That's good though, to think like that. That'll
Mhm.
help you. Cat scared me, sorry. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover some HTML and CSS. But what I would like to know, since you guys read the 2 articles, right? Did everybody have a chance to read the articles? Okay, so I want you guys to tell me before we dive in and start going over everything, what HTML and CSS is, what it does, and what its parts are.
I'll start us off simple.
Here, let's do this. Let me get another.
Oh, people are putting it in the chat. Okay, sorry.
Let me pull this over here. Oh, that's not. Can you guys see that? I can't see the chat now, Caitlin, so I don't, oh wait, maybe I can.
Sorry. Everybody in chat is pretty much on point. So
I still can't, it's still kind of small, so I don't know if I can do something on my end, probably.
Hold on. Let me see if I can adjust that real quick.
I already adjusted my resolution for being blind.
Oh, hold on. Oh, I think it's already where it's as big as I can get it. So at least that part
Let's
is.
see here. Maybe I'll just zoom into it. Let's
Oh.
see. No pun intended, right? Let's see. Switch height. View. Nope. Window. Zoom in. No, that's wrong window. Of course it is. Oh, now I'm starting trouble.
Okay. What were some of the things that they?
So Latonia said HTML is structure or anatomy. Brandy said HTML is a markup language. Latonia said CSS is beautification. I love that. Shaw said HTML provides the structure. Lena said HTML is hypertext markup language. CSS is cascading style sheets. Let's see. Lena said HTML structure of website and CSS is making the web page look good and presentable.
Okay. So what is it? So then, all right, let's get into.
Good, Latonia. So Latonia is naming different parts of an HTML page.
That's good.
Mhm.
Can you see that? I don't know if I can make it any bigger.
Could you make the font bigger, maybe?
Let's see.
Yeah, yes, Latonia, you do. You do. It helps search engines kind of identify what language your website is written in. Yep.
Can you see that or no?
It looks frozen to me, Karen. Like I don't
That-
see anything happening.
Well, I just want to, can you read it? Like, is it really tiny?
It looks the same.
Of course.
It's really tiny.
Yeah, super tiny.
Hang on. Is that any better?
We can't see your screen.
I see it now.
Can you guys see it? Is it okay?
I see it.
Okay. Much better.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you guys named off a lot of stuff, right? Who
Before you
can-
go ahead, is it possible to drop that link in the chat so we can open it up
Oh.
on our own screen?
Yes, that was the next thing that I was going to do, and thank you for reminding me of that.
Hey, Karen and Caitlin, do you know if there's a way to open the link in the Zoom application itself, the Zoom window? So I don't have to keep like going back to Chrome or whatever.
I don't think so.
All right, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna open in Chrome when you click it.
I'm
Unfortunately.
being one of those high-end users that's a pain in the butt. All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, that would probably be best to have two separate monitors or even more, like Max
Mhm.
talked about in our first class.
Yeah, figuring it out. I'm still making my peace here.
Carolyn,
Caitlin,
I
can you
Yeah,
can you
yes,
throw that in the chat, because I can't even see the chat now,
so
The slide?
please, and I will put it up in the Slack channel as well.
Yes.
so I figured out yesterday, if you do the whole slide thing on your touchpad and you drag what you have into the top one, it'll split screen your Zoom and your
oh,
Chrome.
yeah, or if I'm using the desktop thing that you can do up at the top of the screen. Yeah, okay, maybe I should do it. The problem is when I do that, then the real estate is limited. And then it's like, it's easier to just keep switching back and forth. I was just wondering if there was a really cool thing that maybe Zoom had implemented, but that's okay. That'll be my capstone, not just kidding. All right, thank you.
I'll give you guys a couple minutes to grab the link and get it open.
Alina and I posted the same link, so don't worry that there's two. She beat me to it.
Okay. So a lot of the answers that you guys gave, they're all correct answers and they're good answers, right? And that's what HTML does is, so you start out and it's creating the language for the web to be able to read what is your code, right? But there's different elements. So what are the elements? Do we know what the elements are? They're defined by the tags, right? And how many different tags do we have? There's a huge list. I don't think
There's 90, but we use 20 of them regularly.
About-
You will see
yes.
20 of them regularly.
Yes, you really, Ben, you don't need to remember them all. If you have a reference, you can look them up.
that you're right. And a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
times that
just-
you do.
Yeah,
MDM, is it MDN, right? MDN.
Yeah, I'll post the link.
Yeah, I use that a lot. That is one that I use a lot, that I go to when I'm looking up something, if I want to know how to do something, or if I'm looking for a certain tag to see if I can use it correctly.
This is a really good resource. Actually, you should bookmark
oh,
because
Mozilla, yeah.
if you ever have questions, this is the place to go usually.
Yeah, I use that a lot and it has a lot of information.
Then in your bookmarks bar on your browser, wherever you put it. But
Yes.
handy.
So the element is always defined by, it has a start tag and there's an end tag. And the tag is, it always starts with the, what is it? The less, that starts with a less than, and then there's a greater than at the end of it. And was Latanya that asked the question this morning, right, Caitlin?
About the tags, the P tag.
Right. So,
Yeah, that was a good question.
and there's a list, you know, I threw a few of them in here that you will be looking at and that you'll see a lot. The doc type is always going to be in your HTML so that the browser knows hey, I want you to display this HTML that I'm about to give you in this way. And then your body is going to be your content, right? You'll have a header or a nav bar in there, and you'll use divs a lot. Your footer images, those are going to be fun.
Yeah.
You can put just about, I think, any image, right? And then you and Dana are getting into the accessibility with the images and stuff, right, Caitlin?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah,
That's my
Dana's doing
thing.
accessibility
Yeah.
for 2 days, I think.
Excellent. I have a question too about images. You said just about anything. Back in the day, we did GIFs, not the GIFs like you see on Facebook. That was like the thing to do. Then it was JPEG. Now you see ping everywhere, but does it really matter? Is there a preferred file format for the images that
So
you
I
include?
think JPG is probably the most common. PNG would be like second most common. You'll also
SVGs
yeah,
are,
you'll also see image files that are SVGs, like Karin said. Those are scalable vector graphics. So
Oh,
a lot of
okay.
logos are those because they can be scaled to various sizes without looking funky.
Which is a
So-
good mobile thing, right?
Yeah, and essentially an SVG is just a image file with a ton of coordinates
Mhm.
that allows it to be scalable. So that's fun. If you want to look that up for some fun reading, you can look up SVGs. But
yeah, I'm laughing because the SVG, that type of image, that almost broke me in the program. Because for my capstone, I needed to create an image and I was creating it in an SVG so that I could use it. And it took me a week to get the image the way that I needed it to. I thought it literally almost broke me trying to create that image. But Caitlin is right. They can be used for anything. So A lot of times when people go to get a logo for their website or whatever it is that they're doing, they want an SVG so that if you want to go and you want to print mugs or t-shirts or magnets or stickers or whatever, you had that SVG image, you take it to them and say, can you give me whatever you want of this? And with that, they can do it because they can resize it without it looking weird and distorted. So every element has you have an opening tag, and then you have a closing tag. And the closing tag is going to be, it's going to be the same thing. The only difference is that you're going to have the / before whatever the element name is, right? So if you had a line of code here and you were putting and you had a header and you wanted to put some type of title or, this is my website, this is my website would be in between the header, the opening tag, and your closing tag. And there are self-closing tags though, which means you don't have to have two. I don't remember what the list is though. I need to look, actually, I think I looked that up on MDM. There's a couple, like the image, that is one. Then the image tag is a self-closing tag. So you wouldn't need to have an opening tag and a closing tag. You can just write like it is right here in the slide, this right here. You would put your less than sign, you'd put IMG for image, and then you'd put the / and then your greater than sign, and that's a self-closing tag. Some people use the ones that are self-closing a lot, others don't like to because they like to have the way their code is structured in.
So when you do a image with the self-closing image tag, that's going to be in front of your image, correct? Like before you place the image on the HTML.
Say that again. You have a
For the-
self-closing tag.
Yes. Image. We're going to use image for our self-closing tag. You would always put that in front of your image, correct? Or would it go behind it? Would it go in the front?
So, sorry.
So
You want to go ahead, Karen? Do you want
yeah,
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
No,
no,
it's fine.
that's okay. The self-closing tag, so you'll start your tag like normal, right? You'll do your less than sign and you'll put image, and then you'll put wherever your source is for your image.
Okay.
It's going to go in there, and then you're going to have the closing tag right after it.
Okay, yes, okay. That
The
answers my
closing part of
question.
the tag right after it. Go ahead, what you're going to say, Caitlin.
I was gonna say that the image tag has something called an attribute, and that's where you put the source, which would be the actual image file. So that's why it's a self-closing tag, because nothing goes in between an opening and closing tag like you would with like a link or text or anything else.
Right, like a paragraph, you need open and closing because you have content in between there. Right. You're going to put something in between those two tags. With the image source, and I do have attributes in the slides. We just didn't get that far yet. With the image tag, you're not putting anything in between them, which is why it can be a self-closing. I can't think of any other self-closing at the moment off the top of my head. I know there's a list of them though.
Latonia provided an example in chat that might make sense. So it says image source equals, and then has quotes with the image file. It's not an image file in that, but that's kind of how it would look. And then it would have the closing tag before the greater than sign. It would have that closing slash.
I know there's a whole list of them because I looked them up. I'll find it. When we go on break, I'll find it because I know there's an entire list of self-closing tags that you can use. So let's break down some of these tags that we've talked about and tell you what they do, right? What you want to use them for. So you have a head tag, and that's going to contain the metadata information for the document. Who can tell me what metadata is? Anybody? Not, it's okay if you don't know, because it's not anything that's.
Well, we had a discussion about this last week because I actually used to work with structured metadata, the Dublin Core, for the Gateway to Education materials up at SU. People will say it's data about data, which is fine. Metadata can be as simple as describing, my top is lilac. Lilac would describe the item as my top. And in HTML, it can just, back in the day, people used to throw all these meta tags in to try and push the SEO for their site and everything. But my experience with it, it is a language. And it helps things like online catalogs work, faceted search. And I'm looking the other day, I was trying to find something for our dog on Chewy. And I got to thinking, this is a faceted search they're using, because you can narrow it down and everything. So Dublin Core would be the main metadata standard. And that's all I'm going to say because I've said too much.
So it does. And you're right. A lot of people will say that it's data about data, and it's data that will describe and give the information about the data that you want to pass along, right? So you kind of need that. Then you have the body tag. The body tag is going to be all of your content that you want everybody to see. So like it went so yesterday with the wireframe, where we had the feature image and we had the price title, the product title, and the button and the price, and then all the thumbnails underneath and the description box. That's going to be the body. So all of your content is going to go in there. Then you have what's H1 to H6. And H1, it's the biggest heading that you can have. It'll make it really big. H6 will go down smaller. And then you have a P tag. The P tag, it defines a paragraph and it makes the text even smaller than the H6. So if let's say if you're writing a blog, right, you're going to start with a big title, and then you have, say you want to section it out, and you have one section, so you're going to have maybe an H2 or 3 tag in there, and then you'll have a paragraph to give all of the text that you want. And then you have another section, so you'll use another H2 or 3 tag there, and then do your paragraph. The div will define the section in the document, right? You're putting this document out there for everybody to see, and you want to have 4 sections. So you'll use a div, and that'll break it down. You have a title, which obviously is going to be the title of your document. So it'll be way up at the top. It'll be big. They're usually big. They're usually pretty big. And then your header defines the top of the document. Usually that's where like your nav bar goes, your navigation for if you're going to have a home page and an about page, and then you want to have detailed pages on top of that. So what does the browser do with all that HTML that you are writing, right? What's the purpose of it? It's the purpose of the HTML is for the browser to say, okay, yep, I see you're giving me all this information. Now let me read what you have and display it correctly. So if you have an image in there, you want it to display the image correctly.
So if I remember correctly from last week, Max talked about how, like when you're coding, you're not speaking, you're not writing computer language, because that's not the kind of coding we're doing. You're trying to write something that the computer can understand.
Yes.
So we can then translate it into something that we understand. And that's true with whatever kind of code we're doing. But in the case of web development, you know, the HTML, CSS, et cetera. So it's the machine readable code is apparently what this is interfacing with and doing the translating all behind the scenes. And it's been standardized. So, you know, by ANSI, ASCII, whatever. So that's how it works, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know the technical part. I don't need to. I do software, not hardware.
So there's a lot of different browsers, right? There's Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari, but they all have the same purpose. And that's to take whatever HTML that you're going to give it and to display it correctly. So when you write all of that, the browser doesn't say, okay, I see this P tag, so let me put that out there and then put all this stuff inside it and then put the closing tag. It doesn't ever put the tags in. It uses the tags to determine what it is that you're putting out, right? So the tag is what tells the browser, oh, I'm in this spot and they want to have a paragraph here. So that's a P tag and that's what needs to go there. And then when you put your image tag in there, it'll say, oh, wait, now there's an image. So where's the closing tag for the paragraph? Oh, here it is. So here's the paragraph in the section. The browser says, okay, there's your paragraph. And now you have your image. And then it'll look for the next tag so that it can display it exactly how you have it written out. So yesterday when we talked about the grid, right, we talked about 12 and we talked about boxes. That's basically this right here is basically, it's all a bunch of boxes. Think of it as your code is going to be structured as boxes, right? So here you have, here's this HTML, this outer, I don't have any color, which is stupid, but. So this outer box, I wish I had a highlighter and zoomed it. Oh, wait. Maybe. Oh, really? Haha, okay. So this box right here, right? Can you guys see that? Yeah. No. Yes. I have half yeses and half nos. Okay.
No, too small.
This box right here, where it says HTML, it's this big giant box. That's your whole document that the browser is going to look at and to see what you want. Then it's going to break it down and it's going to say, okay, I see this head tag and here's the closing head tag. So this is a box right here. But inside of that head tag, you have a title tag with some text in between it. So the title tag is a box that's inside of the head tag, right? Are you guys following me along so far? You're good? So now we have another box that's the body. That's all your body. So it's boxes on boxes, right? Your header is a box that's on top of the body box. And if there was a footer, there's not one in this example. If there was a footer, the footer would be at the bottom of this body tag, which would be a box. So you would have three boxes. You'd have your footer box, and then you'd have your body box, and then your header box on top of that. And all of that is inside of your document. Inside your body, you have these three tags. So you have a little heading here, might be the title of the section that you're doing for a paragraph. And then you have your paragraph, and then it has another paragraph. Each one of these tags tells the browser where to start and where to stop with what you have inside of there. Okay. There is a good, and I will give you guys that reference at the end of class tonight, but there is another good website, and it shows you like the boxes on top of that. And that's really what you're doing, is you're creating boxes on top of boxes when you're doing it. So Caitlin had mentioned attributes, right? When we were talking about the image tag, and they can all have an attribute. And what the attribute does is it will give your HTML tag extra information, right? It provides additional information for what you're doing. So some of them that the attributes that you can use are there's a class attribute, there's a style attribute, and an ID attribute. So I gave you an example of an attribute with like say a div, and I used the class attribute. You can name them anything, right? If you want to have a certain color, let's say you wanted your title to be a certain color. So you're going to say, okay, well, here's my title. I'm going to give it a class of my color. Then in your CSS file, you'll go in and you'll put my color and you'll tell it what color you want it to be. So when the browser reads that, it's going to say, okay, you gave me this HTML file and you have this attribute in here and it has a class. So where is that file? And it's going to look for your CSS file. When it finds your CSS file, it's going to say, oh, here's that my color attribute that I was looking for. And it'll look to see what color it is. And that's what it will render. It'll render that color. So if you want it to be blue, it'll be blue. If you wanted it to be yellow, it'll be yellow. And so the class attribute that styles the element that you use it on, whatever element you use it on, right? If you use it on an H1, if you use it on a title, if you use it on a div, that's what it's going to style. So if you put it on a div, it'll be that style. It'll use that class and style the entire div, which is a section, right? If you use it on just an H1 element that's inside of a div, it's not going to put it on the div, it's going to put it on the H1. The ID, it'll target that specific element. So if you have let's say you have two paragraph tags, right? You have one on top of the other. If we go back to this image here, and there's a paragraph tag here, and there's a paragraph tag here. If you give the first paragraph tag an ID, and you go in and you style that, and say you want it to be a certain text, right? You want it to be, I don't know, New Times, right? So you can say, I want the text to be New Times, and I want the text color to be red, and I want the text size to be 20. It'll take this first paragraph, whatever your text is in between that tag, because you put that ID to it, and it'll make it all of those things. But your next paragraph tag doesn't have anything on it. So it's just going to render it like normal, and it'll just be regular black text, whatever the, oh my God, I can't think of the word. What's the word I'm looking for, Caitlin? Standard, not standard.
What are you trying, what?
Convention,
No. So like just
practice.
if you don't put any like ID or style or anything on.
I said default.
I mean, it's just not,
Yes.
it's not good practice, because you want to be able to identify what you're looking at when you're reading your code, or when somebody else is reading your code, like say you're working on a project. If you have a large page, for example, with lots of different tags on it, and you don't have any of them, none of them have classes or IDs, it's going to make it really hard for you to figure out what's where. So it's just good practice to add something, even if you're not going to style that element necessarily, to have a class or an ID there. Classes can be reused. IDs generally are very, very specific and only used on one element.
Right. And that was my next bullet point.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's good because you were hitting my bullet point, which is good. But LaTonya said it, the default. So if you put an ID on, if I go back to this right here, and if you put an ID on this P tag and you style it and do all those crazy things to it, but you don't do anything to the second P tag, it's just going to use the default styling that you have already. And that's generally, I don't know, Bootstrap has just a general thing, right? When you install it.
Yeah. So if you use like a button, well, no, I mean, it's just going to look plain. It's going to look
Right.
black and white, typical text for whatever browser you're in. It's going to be very default, very boring.
Right. The browser will say, okay, oh, so you don't have any tag here. So guess what? It's just going to be black text at whatever their default text size and stuff is.
Yeah.
So, right. What Caitlin said was you can use a class everywhere. And they can be reused. You can create one class and you can use it on multiple pages and on multiple elements. With an ID though, you can only use it on that one. If you put an ID on a P tag on one page and you go to put it on the same ID on a second page, it's going to say, I don't understand this because you've already used it here. And that's for that tag. So you would have to create another ID, an additional ID for that. Right? I think that's what my example is. Yeah. So the attributes only that whatever element you choose. So like I said, if you have two, in my example here, I have two H2 tags, right? One says my colors and one says your colors. But the one that says your colors is styled with the color blue. Even though they're the same tag, the only one that will change is the one that has the style attribute added to it. Or if it was an ID. If it was a class, you could use it on both. Okay, so why don't we, at this point, before we dive into CSS, we're going to create a folder and we are going to create an HTML file in that folder. Does that sound good? You guys ready to do some stuff? Okay, so does everybody, I need to get rid of this. I can't get rid of this. Oh, wait.
Are we gonna do this in the terminal?
Yeah, no.
No? Okay.
Nope. We're gonna actually play with stuff now. Okay, so you guys all have a folder on your desktop, right? Or you can make a new one.
Yes. Oh.
Does everybody have a folder on their desktop?
Yeah.
Okay. So inside of that, you can name it whatever you choose, however you want, whatever you'd like to do. I just named mine HTML. It's just empty, right? There's nothing in it. I just created a new folder that says HTML. So now I am going to open. I think it's on here. I hope it's on here. So you're going to open up your VS Code. And let me. Can you guys see my VS Code?
It's very tiny, but yes.
Jesus, I don't know why this is so.
Shit, man.
Apparently mine has to update. I didn't know there was an update for VS Code. Did you?
Mine updates at work all the time.
Okay. Does everybody have their VS Code open?
Yes.
No. You don't, I mean, you don't have to code along if you don't want to. You can watch. That's perfectly fine. Because you can always come back and watch the video later. Right? So we're going to open up a folder. And I'm going to go to my desktop. Nope, that's not where I want to. I'm going to go inside the folder that I had. I'm going to highlight my HTML folder. And I'm going to open it. Yeah, okay. So it's going to open this up and here, right? And here's the folder over here. This little folder. It shows it. It opened. There's nothing in it, right? Once you get your folder open, see this little, the first one right here? It says new file if you hover on it. Yes, Ariel.
I actually noticed when I was doing this prior with Max from Thursday.
Yep.
Mine does not look anything like it, yours looks more like a Windows setup for VS Code. Mine doesn't. Like if I go under the Explorer, it will refresh itself and there will be nothing on the side. And I don't have half the icons you do. Is it possible I might have downloaded the wrong type or something?
It could be, and
Ariel, do you want to go in a breakout room real quick and I can try to help you if you screen share?
yeah.
Yeah, please, just because I'm used to VS, but this is not, I noticed with Max's, it wasn't the same either. And I'm having
Yeah.
a hard time finding the files.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
and you might have to, and it just because I don't think it would take long, but you might have to uninstall it and then go and like re-download it.
Yeah, I'll see what it looks like.
Okay.
Give me-
Okay. So everybody else, does everybody else have their folder open if you are coding along with me?
Yes. I
Okay.
do.
So this first part right here, if you hover on it, it'll say new file. You're going to click on that and it's going to give you an empty box. You're going to type in index.html and hit enter. And it should automatically on this side over here give you a folder, give you the file, right? Okay. Sorry, my cat is like, he's huge and he's pestering me. He probably wants to get out. He can wait till break. Okay. So what do we want to start with? What type of tag do you think we should start with?
The header.
We do need a header, but we need to tell the browser what we're doing,
Sorry,
right?
the document type.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So, and I don't think I have an example of it open. There's a shortcut, and Max is going to yell at me because I'm going to use this shortcut. He's going to yell. But if you type an exclamation point and then hit tab, do you see what it did? Yeah. he's going to yell because he's going to say, you should have typed it all out. And I should. You should get into the practice of typing it out because it's good to know all of that. But I want to show you guys all of this to begin with. So this is your document type. This right here, this tag right here, this one. That's what tells the browser what type of file you're giving it so that it knows what to display for you, right? Then it says, okay, so you're giving me an HTML and you can choose the language. So obviously we're here over in the US and it's going to be English, but if you wanted it to be Spanish, if you wanted it to be French, German, any of those, you could put that in there and it would display that for that web, for the web browser. So then you have your head tag, and in your head tag is where you have all of your metadata, right? That's all of your metadata. And it also, you can put in your viewport. Your viewport is what you're looking at, right? So if you're looking at on a phone, I don't know if you guys can see that, or if you're on a laptop or if you're on a tablet, it'll adjust for what you're looking on. And you guys will get into all that responsive stuff with Caitlin in 2 weeks. So after next week, you'll get into all of that. So then you have a title. The title, it just says document. And the title will put it either up in like where the search bar is, where you see your whole URL and it has everything in there. It'll put the title there, or it'll put it on the tab, or sometimes it does both, right, Caitlin? Yes, no?
Caitlin's in a breakout room, I think. And also Susan is in the chat. She wants to know how to get into her folder.
Okay. Caitlin, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said I'm back, but I'm waiting for Ariel to get back because she had to jump out and come back in, but I didn't hear what the question was.
Okay, can you, because I still, oh wait, maybe I can see it now. No, I can't. I can't see chat. Can you,
Susan's
Yeah.
question, she said, what view are we supposed to be in? I still see the terminal coding stuff we did with Max.
close, she needs to close out VS Code. So completely close it out. The little up here in the corner where you have the red dot, Susan, close that out and it should close all of that stuff that you did with Max out of the way.
Okay.
Did you get it, Susan? You unmute yourself. I can't hear you. I don't know if you're.
Can you, sorry,
I
can you hear me now?
There you
Yeah,
go.
sorry, my headphones were muted. I got the folder open, I see HTML, but when I drop down, I don't see the index.html that you have.
So you're going to create it.
Oh, okay.
So this first one right here,
Yep.
if you hover it, it'll say new file.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to click on that and it'll give you this box right here will be empty. You're going to type in index.html.
Okay.
And then that'll show this over here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
So we have to do CSS, right? We're going to do CSS later. When we get to that, and we'll come back and we'll put it in, but when we get to that, underneath this title tag, we're going to put a link. Oh, it's going to not be nice. Okay. Apparently my VS Code doesn't want to play nice today. Because you should be able to, oh wait, you know what? Let me try this. There we go. when we come back to do CSS, you guys can put this in here. It's not going to hurt if it's there. So if you just type link and then hit tab, it'll automatically fill that in. And this is saying, this will say, okay, I see that you're going to have this relationship with a style sheet, right? Which is what we're going to add. We'll add that afterwards. And then it says, okay, but where am I going to find this? Where's the reference for this style sheet? So after we add our CSS file, we'll come back and we're going to tell it, hey, this is the file that I want you to go look for all of my styling and all of my CSS, right? Then we get to the body, and then here's our closing HTML so that the browser knows, oh, we're at the end. That's the end of the document. So let's try a couple of things. Let's put in here. We'll put a nav in, right? And inside the navigation, we'll put an H1 tag. And what do you guys want to put in there? What do you want to call it? Just HTML practice? What? Anything? You can name it anything you want, right? You could just say HTML practice. I'm so used to my other editor, sorry. So now you have all of that in there. You need to save it. So Command S and it'll save, right? Everybody got their file saved? Okay. So now go to your folder on your desktop, go into the HTML folder, and you'll see this. See this file? Does everybody have a file that looks like this in their HTML folder? You guys can unmute yourselves because since Caitlin's out, I can't see chat. So if you guys are writing stuff in the chat, I can't see it.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Yep. It is
Okay.
saved.
Click on it, double click on it, open it up, and it's going to open up your browser. Of course, it opened mine in a different spot. Can you guys see can you guys see that browser?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I opened it up in a completely different screen. So see what you did? Whatever you wrote in there, that's what it says, right? Is that what you guys have? Has everybody got that? Who doesn't have it? Who needs help?
Oh, I'm running behind, but that's typical lately.
That's okay.
My question is, I put the HTML.index file into Visual Studio, but are we supposed to have a folder in Visual Studio also, or will it just know?
Nope, it'll know when you open it. We'll go over that.
Okay, so I just need to fill in the rest of it for it to know what's going on. All right.
Yeah. Okay, Susan.
I'm trying to do two screens at once, and
That's okay.
Whatever.
let me stop. I'm going to stop sharing, and we'll get to you guys. We'll try and get you guys caught up here with who's got what. Do you want to share your screen, Susan, so we can see what?
Oh yeah, I'm just behind because I was not in the folder, so you were steps ahead of me. So I just can't.
Okay.
You took it away before I could see it. That's all.
All right.
I just need to see it again.
Let me get that back up for you. Hold on.
Or
So
screenshot
Karin,
it and put it somewhere, maybe.
Karin, I have a question.
Yes.
When you're in Visual Studios and you do Command S, is it going to tell you anywhere that it's saved, or do you just have to basically backtrack yourself and check in the file itself?
So you guys should have, and then let me just, I'll put, see up at the top here, there's a little dot. Can you see that?
Yeah, yours has that, mine doesn't, but.
I don't know where the setting is because I didn't even change any settings for it. So you should have it automatically. Caitlin might know where it is faster than I do because she uses VS Code every day. I do not. I use a different code editor at work. But it should be in your settings under, like if you go under save, there should be, and we can do it either on break or after class. Anybody that wants to set that up that does not have this at the moment, right? If you don't have this little dot, we can go and we can go into the settings, and unless you know where it is, Caitlin, right away. I do not, for them to have the indication that it's been changed, the file's been changed.
Oh, for the M, like for modified and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, well, just see like the dot here. Like
Yeah,
I
that
have
means it's not saved.
right. And that's what they want. Elena was
So
asking.
mine's saved, like I was able to pull it up on my desktop and it was saved and everything. But I just want to know, like in the future, if
Right.
there was a way in
If
Visual
we-
Studios that I can see that it's saved without double checking myself within the file.
Yeah, when we'll figure out where the setting is, if we go in and do that, because watch, I'm going to save that file now. Make sure my mouse is where I want it. And it's gone and it puts an X there. So that means that it saved that file. The dot knew that there was a change in the file and I hadn't saved it yet.
Oh, okay.
So
I get what
saved
you're saying
it.
now. See, because yours was the dot when you were telling us, but then mine was the X. So it was saved. I get it now. It's
Yes. If you make a change on your file.
yeah, I just did it. That's how I figured it out.
Okay. Yep. Everybody should have the same thing. Okay. So who needs help? If you just need time to catch up, that's fine. Let me know.
I need help.
Karen needs help. All right, Karen, where are you stuck?
I think I have VC Code open. I think I have the file open, but when I click on it, nothing's happening. Let me share my screen here.
Yep. Share your screen so we can see where you're at.
Okay,
If you guys, while we're helping Karen, if you want to add a couple of different things in there in that file and you want to try other tags, you can absolutely do that. And did I minimize that or not? When you save the file, just go back to your browser and hit refresh. And any changes that you make will be reflected. So you don't have to go back in and open it every time. Just go back to where it is in your browser and hit refresh, and it will reflect those changes. So if I put in between my P tag here, if I put and save it, when I come back to my browser and refresh, there's my Taco Tuesday. Let me stop sharing so that Karen can share her screen. Okay, Karen, you should be able to share your screen now so that we can see.
okay.
Okay. So Karen, see where the HTML is? There's a little caret.
Here?
Look, nope. In your VS Code.
Oh, wait a minute. I got something up here open. I need to close. Okay, caret.
Up where it says HTML in VS Code, on the left-hand side, it'll say Explorer, and underneath that it says HTML. Click on that.
Okay, where it says outline?
Nope, where it says HTML. Click on the HTML.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have a file under there yet. So we're going to create one. So in that line where it says HTML, go over to that where that first, nope, keep it open. Click it. Click back on that and keep it open. Yes. Now go straight in the same, right where HTML is. You'll see it looks like a piece of paper and there's Nope, not that one. Go the very first one. Keep going. One more. That one. It says new file. Click
Okay.
on that. Now in that box, type index dot HTML and then hit enter. Okay. Those other two, the one that says welcome and the one that says untitled, you can close those out. Hit the X and close those out. Not that one. There you go. Okay. So now hit, put an exclamation mark in there. So shift and 1. Now hit tab. There you go.
Oh, damn. Oh. Oh, okay. That was like magic.
So now you can, if you want to stop sharing, I'll reshare my screen
All
and you can
right.
take a look at what I put in there for code.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, how's everybody else? Where are we at? Are we good?
I'll
Carolyn,
get
how
caught
are
up on the
you?
break.
Well, I'm behind in terms of the actual execution of what I'm doing, but I'm following you guys along and, you know, I'll be all right. I have my life jacket on, so. This is too much fun. All right.
So
I
I
have
tried
a-
to follow along with the HTML doc that we were just working with to change the color of my text just for fun, and
Uh-huh.
it didn't change. But I wrote the code exactly how it was in the HTML, so I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong.
Try doing it through CSS. Put like a tag style. Like
Oh,
style
okay.
tag. Yeah.
Got it. I'll try that.
Yeah, if you, so if
I
you
thought that you
wanted,
could change the color with HTML, so I wasn't sure. You can, right?
You can if you add a style attribute to the element. So like,
ready?
Karen's
Watch.
gonna show you like this.
So you're gonna do style, tab, and it's gonna put some quotation marks in there.
You can say color red or something.
Color. Yeah, or you can, a lot of times if it brings it up like that, you can go down through and you can pick anything that you want and then just hit tab and it'll put it in there. So now when I save this and I go to my browser and I refresh it, I made my HTML practice blue.
So that's called inline styling, and generally we don't do that. We put all the styles in the style sheet, which is the CSS style sheet, and then you
Right.
import that into your HTML file, but you can do it like that.
So generally, do we like really just write code in HTML, and then anything as far as like beautifying the page you would recommend doing in CSS then?
Yeah, because it's easier to have it on 1 or 2 style sheets even, rather than having it all inline and then having to go through all those lines of code to figure out what styles you have on what.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
where classes come in handy, because you can target elements with those classes instead.
Right. And we're gonna do that after the break.
Yeah.
We're gonna add a CSS file and we'll do some styling through that. But yes, you can do that. You can do this. And it, most of the time Caitlin's right. That's not how you would do it. You'd put it in your CSS file. And some of them with the language that I work with uses not only a global CSS file, but each component has a CSS file. Okay, so there's a couple that need to catch up or are having difficulties, right? How about we take a break? We'll say 7:05, is that good? We'll come back at 7:05 and we will add a CSS sheet and go from there. And anybody who is having issues and wants to take care of them during the break, we can do that. Get you caught up, do whatever. I'll stop sharing so we can go through and see. That sound good?
Yeah. I'm behind, but like, it's just because I'm driving home.
Nope, that's okay. I know you're gonna catch up.
Oh, okay. It's like an
I
hour
have
away.
faith in you. I saw what you did yesterday, so I'm not worried about you.
Thank you. But I'm keeping up. I'm following along. I'm not looking at my phone, but I'm listening
Yeah, and you can always go back and watch the videos too.
for YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
Shantina, you have a question?
Yes, but it was for after everybody went to break because I needed
Oh,
help
okay.
for something.
No problem.
That's okay.
Okay, so I think I was at the same spot that Karen was at. I'm missing the step to get to the, I don't know if it's Visual Studio or where you can make the screen black. I don't know what I'm missing. I
Okay.
don't know what-
Do you want to share your screen and we'll see where you're going?
Right. So you asked about the folder, the CIC folder,
Yep, that's fine.
and then we made an HTML folder.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have that little plus, you know,
Nope,
little-
because you're going to open up Visual Studio Code first.
where's that?
So, okay, go out of that
Okay,
and go back to your desktop. Down in the corner there, you already have it open.
which
If
one
you
is it?
go, so the second one in from your trash can,
This?
yes, open that up. So you're going to close those out.
Yeah, that was
Just hit
my
the X.
practice one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So over where it looks like the paper right there.
Mhm.
Yep. Click that. And it says open folder. So you're going to
Mhm.
open the folder. And then you're going to go to your desktop where it says desktop. Now you're going to click on this CIC and then
Oops.
you're going to,
Double
okay.
clicked, sorry.
no, that's okay.
Oh.
Okay. So there's your HTML.
Mm-hmm.
So click on that,
And then this?
then that. Now type in index.html,
Oh.
hit enter.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have that index HTML. So now do tab.
Okay. I'm so lost. Thank you so
No,
much.
that's okay. So now you can put in there the stuff that we had. We just put a nav bar in there
Okay.
and just put some stuff in between it.
Okay.
If you want to do that, you can
Yes.
just type in nav. Or just type NAV. Nope. Go
Oh,
back out.
what am I doing?
Hit Control Z
Oh, next. Okay, next
or
time.
Command Z.
Okay. I got it out of there.
Yeah, but it's not going to be right. So hit Command
Oh.
Z, Command and Z.
Yep, I did. And then do it again. Okay.
There you go. Okay,
Alright.
so now go down to the bottom.
All the way.
Oh,
All the
you're
way at the
missing-
bottom.
Nope, in between the two body tags.
Yeah.
And now just type NAV
Mm-hmm.
and hit tab. And now you can type whatever you want in there.
Okay. And I made some notes over here. Thank you so much.
Yes. You're missing a quotation mark though, up at the top. Where it
Here?
says width.
Mm-hmm. Here.
No.
Not there?
Nope, take that out.
Okay.
And then right in front of that D, take that less than sign out.
Oh, that's where I was writing nav. Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
Now,
So,
after you put whatever you're going to put in there and save it,
mm-hmm.
go into the folder on the desktop and open it, double click on the file, and it'll open up in your browser for you to see.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. How's everybody else doing? Carolyn, how are you doing? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Wasn't in Zoom, so, yeah, let's do what you just did.
Okay, that's all
All
right.
Do you need a screen share? Or are you good?
You can share your screen.
Whatever works for you, right?
Yep.
All right.
Share your screen and then I can help you walk you through it.
Okay. All right, so I've gotten really far. I've done this in other contexts, but in this software, I tried to use the tab in the return so it would finish,
Okay.
doc type.
So take out the two stuff. Take out, all right, well, you can do it that way. If you want to type it all out, you can. But if you take out, so just erase everything that's there. And we'll start you from the very big. Now hit exclamation point. Put your exclamation point in there. Now hit tab. Oh, yours isn't doing it. Why is yours not doing it?
And I need to name it again.
Oh, wait. Okay, stop. Close that out. Just close it right out.
The whole
thing. Nope, nope. Just that file. Sorry. So up in the, if you go up, I'm trying to use my mouse. Where the, see where the circle is, the white circle is?
Or I have like a red circle with a white number 1 in it. Or no, right here.
Yes,
Got it.
close that out. Don't save it.
And then this welcome thing.
You can close that out.
Thank you.
Okay, so now see right there, your file next to the HTML.
This
Yes,
one?
click on that.
Oh.
Type index.html in there. Hit enter.
That's where you put it.
Now do your exclamation point. There you go. You're cooking with gas, baby.
So this is your wireframe, if you will. And I'm supposed to just fill in with some things.
Yep. All we did was put in nav, right? If don't do it there because you need to move your cursor down in between where it says body. And yes. So just type NAV.
With, I don't have to use the open and close
Just hit
alligator.
NAV. Just type NAV and hit tab. And then you can put whatever you want in there.
So
Whatever you want to say. I just said HTML practice, but you can put anything you want in there. Yes.
all right.
Okay. So now hit Command S
And save it.
and save it. So now it's saved because you don't have that little circle there. Now go to your desktop.
And there it is. You see it?
No, I can't see it. All I can see is your VS Code.
Oh, so I
But
need
that's
to share-
okay. As
Oh,
long
okay.
as you can see it, that's what matters.
Yeah, so I've got my HTML practice 1 folder. And then I have an index.html file with a Chrome symbol next to it.
Yes.
Now, question, I may have also created a folder in Visual Studio that said HTML. I guess I can look in the folder icon and see if it's there and I can get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble here. What can I say? All right, so folder. Well, that's to add a folder.
That's to add a folder. If you want to check, go into the folder where you were, like on your desktop,
Yes.
and see if you put it in there. That'll tell you.
Well, all that's in here is this. But I thought I made it in Visual Studio. I made a folder.
I don't see one. Just
All
you
right.
don't. All you have is your
Yeah.
HTML practice 1 with your HTML index.
All right, and what else did we put in the code? The Visual Studio?
That's it so far. We didn't put the CSS. We didn't put the CSS file in yet. We're going to do that when we come back from break.
I thought there were some more attributes, elements, values, etc. that people put in.
Some people did on their own, and Elena was having trouble getting hers to look correctly. So we showed her inline. If you want to do inline, open up your index HTML. Go to the nav. Yep, right after the V is where you want to start. Put a space. Now type style and hit tab. Now in that, hit color, start typing color. Hit tab. And now pick a color. Now save it, Command S. And go to your browser and just refresh.
Yeah, I need to open it in my browser, right?
Did you close your browser out?
No, but this isn't open in it, or is it? Okay, I'll find out. Let's see.
Go, okay, minimize that. Minimize your VS Code. You know how to minimize it?
Oh,
Up
I
in the
just-
very left-hand
I
corner,
just-
there's 3 dots.
Yeah, I just jumped into my Chrome to see it. But I have to minimize it.
No, you don't have to. Is it in your,
Okay.
is it in Chrome?
Yeah, I'm in Chrome.
And
but
did you
I don't
refresh
see
it?
that- I don't, oh, here we go. Whoop. Yeah, see, I'm on one of the documents to look at.
Did you refresh your browser?
Yes, but it's not in any of the tabs.
Did you go into your, okay, so in your desktop, where you created that folder?
I need to click on the file index, right?
Yes, you need to double click on that and it should open it
That's-
right in your browser.
Yeah, that's where the thing, Google would like to access, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. Ah, there you go. And it did show some text, except I can't spell code. It says COD. Well, I'm from Massachusetts originally.
Well, what color
Sorry.
is it?
It's red or
Okay.
brown, or whatever color they say, but it
All
did
right.
render. Yes.
Then you're good.
Yeah, this is, some of this is coming back to me from the old days.
Karin,
Different now.
I don't know if mine's saved or not. It's like I see it on the desktop, but when I open it up, I don't see anything.
Did you save it in VS Code?
I thought I did. Command S.
Yes. Carolyn, do you want to stop sharing?
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, let me get back where
You good?
I was here. Okay.
Are you all set? You don't see my screen anymore, right?
Right, you're good.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay, Karen, see that index HTML file you have right there?
Here.
Double click it. Okay, go, where's your, open your VS Code, bring that back up. Let's see if you saved it. You don't have anything in there. Nope, don't touch it. In between the body tag. See the
Okay.
2 body tags?
Yeah.
In between that. Put your mouse there, click on it. Now type NAV and take yourself, take the
lowercase, right?
caps off. Take your cap lock off. Yeah, now hit tab. Now put some type of text in between there, whatever you want to say.
Do I have to space it? Does that matter?
If you want it to be like a sentence, yes, put it, write it like you would any other sentence with the spaces.
Okay.
Okay, now save it. Command S. Now go to your browser. And just, no, don't close it. Don't close it. Just tap, just click on it. Nope, go back to the browser where you were. Click on it. Now refresh it. Up in the corner, up in the bar here, up in the bar. At the top, refresh that. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it has been saved?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so actually when I open this up, I was expecting to see all the black the VS code, I guess. All right, makes sense here.
How do I make my text bold? I have to use styles, right?
Yeah.
In the old days, you'd use tags. All right, so I can try that too. All right, make that a whirl.
Karen, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, are we good? Is everybody back? Everybody's here. Everybody, does anybody have any questions? Everybody get their questions answered?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I don't know if I. Okay, so we did some HTML, right? I didn't put too many tags in there, but we can. So let's talk about some CSS and what that does. And so the CSS is used to style the web page, right? That's gonna, and it's a cascading style sheet. And cascade, they say cascading because it's layered, right? So how do I want to put this, Caitlin? Oh my God. One element can be contingent, like one element, it's, oh my God, what I want to say, I'm trying to think of like an element that would be, so the body is the top, right? And it goes backwards. This, when you look at it in the console, which we'll get to next week, that'll be at the bottom. That's the one that's going to control everything, the body. When you put stuff inside the body, if there is a H tag and you try to override that, depending on what it is, the body is going to be the one that it's going to go to first. And then it'll go to the H tag. And then it'll go to what's inside of that. That's why they call it cascading. So it's kind of like, what?
I was gonna say whatever the last one, whatever the last style is, like you can override the original style. It's like, think of it like a waterfall, like a cascade, right? So you start at the top, but then you can style something within that body a different way, and the CSS will display the last thing it saw.
Right.
So like if you style the body to be blue, but then you have a div, which is like a box, like a container under inside that body, and you style it to be red, that div is going to be red, not blue, because it's the last thing that style sheet has for that element, for that child.
Right.
That makes sense. That's why it's cascading, because it kind of, it piles on top of the next of the next of the next. Is that what you're trying to say, Karen?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, and because the way that I think of it is, it's almost like taking a big box and putting the little box inside of that, and then a little box inside of that, and a little box inside of that. And the last one that it sees is the tiny little box in the middle. So that's the first one that it's going to take, because that's the last one that it sees. And then it'll go from there. It'll go out with the styles, so you can override them. And so you can, and with CSS, you can control multiple pages with one style. That's where the class comes in, right? If you do a class and you have 4 pages, but you only want to style 3 of them, if you put that class on those 3 pages, it'll style it whatever your style is. That 4th page won't have it though, because you didn't put that class on there. So it defines your design and your layout and the different variations, and you'll get into responsive with Caitlin and use that so that whether you're looking at it on the phone or whether you're looking at it on a tablet, or if you're on the laptop or a desktop, it'll look correct because you're going to tell it that. You're going to give it those different variations. You can color, you can style color, you can style where you place it. And we're going to get into some of that. I don't know if we'll get to that tonight. We might have some time to. And that's called flex, where you place it. Because when we go back to our wireframe, we have to think about where we need to place those, right? We have 12, we're using the grid system, so we have the 12 columns to play with, but each element is placed in a certain spot, right? I see that look, Latanya, what is that? I can't hear you.
No, I was following along in my head. I was still confused before. I guess when you were talking about how the cascade works, so it works from the bottom up, like it just takes the most recent from the bottom. Okay, because I was just trying to understand.
Yeah, it's tough to follow. It takes a while because everything goes in. You'll come across, and I've come across it. I was doing it today again, as a matter of fact, because my boss wants weird things. But so you'll have, say, an icon, and if that icon is inside of the div, and you want to style it, well, if you give that div a style and say, okay, here's this div, which is this section of what I'm working on, and I want that to be blue. But then I have this icon that's inside of the div, but I want that icon to be red. The cascading style sheet is going to go through that and it's look, and it's going to say, okay, you have here's your div, but you have something else inside of there, and that's the last thing that I am looking at. So I'm going to style that first. And it's going to override that. And it's going to make it red. Because the div is that's the big thing, right? Anything anything inside that div would be blue. But then you said, nope, I want this icon to be red. So the cascading, that's why they call it cascading. The style sheet's going to say, oh, I see that red. That's the last thing I'm looking at. I'm going to do that first. I'm going to make you red. And then everything else that's in that div will continue to be blue.
I think I just need to latch on to the word last. Like the last one in there is what's going to be used for that particular thing.
Yeah. And we can probably do an example of that once we get past this and get in our CSS so that you guys can see what we're talking about. But you can change the style of your text. You can change the color of your text, the font. There's a lot of different fonts. Google Fonts is one that is used quite often. There's another one too, and I can't think of it. What's the other one that we used, Caitlin?
For fonts or for icons?
Yeah, for fonts. Wasn't there another one that we used?
We used Font Awesome, but that's icons.
Yeah, I thought we used like another.
I think I only used Google.
Yeah, maybe. And you can change the background of anything. So if you wanted the entire page to be a color, you could make it that color. Or you can just do a section. That's the nice thing about being CSS. You can make the entire page be that style. You can make just a section be that style, just an element be that style. So there's not a whole lot to CSS. It's probably better to practice it. So let's do some of that. We're gonna stay with our VS Code here, right? Okay, so we did an index HTML. So we're gonna add another file. So you're gonna click add file, and you're gonna do style.css and hit enter, and it's gonna give you another file. Now, remember when I said we need our index HTML to be able to reference that? Because otherwise you can start putting stuff in there and it's not going to know because it doesn't know where to reference it. It says, hey, I have the in your link, right? If you didn't put the link in there, you need to put it in there. Just type link and hit tab and you'll get all of this information with it. So this is the relationship and it says, hey, you have this link has a relationship with this style sheet that I want to use. But where is the reference for that style sheet? All you have to do is start typing. See how I hit ST and it automatically brought that up? If you hit tab, it'll fill it in for you. So now your HTML knows, oh, okay, I'm going to look for this file right here. That's where I'm going to find all of my CSS that I need to be able to use, right? So now, if we go to our style sheet and you type body, space, and curly brackets, and then if you start typing back, you'll see a whole bunch of them come up, but we are going to choose background color. If it's highlighted, you can just hit tab and then pick a color, right? So let's do something outlandish and find something crazy. We'll do gold. Or you can do whatever color you want. That's what I'm going to choose. So I'm going to save those, right? I'm going to come back to my browser. Watch what happens. Nothing. Because I didn't save my index HTML, that's why. So it didn't know it. I can't hear what you're saying. Unmute yourself.
I said that's bright. I don't know if somebody else said anything, but I was like, ooh.
It is, but it's to make a point. You guys, I mean, you guys don't have to do it that bright. You can make it whatever you want. You can do whatever you want with it. It's a point of making the colors. So let's do, what do we got on here? So I have my HTML, I have my Taco Tuesday. So I'm going to do I'm going to hit my P tag. And I'm going to give it a border. And the border has to have a size, right? Most of the time, Caitlin, you guys use pixels at work? So I know some places change from that, but.
Yeah, we use pixels
So
for the most part.
We're going to say it's 5px, which is 5 pixels. I'm going to save it and it should not give me a border because I didn't put a color in there, I think. I don't know. I haven't used border in a long time. I'm so used to doing it. It's not what I want either. So I'm going to do a border color and we'll do black. So hopefully we can see it. And save it. And I still don't have a border. Caitlin, why don't I have a border?
I did a solid in black. I don't know if that'll make a difference, but yeah, I mean it worked, but
it does.
Doesn't the border have to have a size?
That's the 5px is the size.
Oh, that was for the border. I thought you were trying to get your text. Okay, sorry.
Nope.
You have to do border, just do border, and then you can do I think it's, if you hover, it'll tell you the order, but it's solid.
You can put them on, that's what I thought. You can put them all together, right?
Yeah, border itself with just 5px isn't gonna do anything.
Right. Okay. I wasn't sure. So, okay. So we're going to do a solid. Black, and we'll do 5px.
I think that's the order.
I don't think it matters if you what the order is. I think it just needs to have those three. So there's my border. But what if I wanted it only to be around the Taco Tuesday?
You can change the width. I mean, no. You don't have to. You just get rid of the are you using a div?
No.
Are you using what are you using? Like a span or something?
It's just a P tag.
What's is it like? Okay, so CS. Okay, so P tag. I don't know. Maybe just take the P tag out and put it in between just Taco Tuesday.
You were right. You were on the right track the first time. You can change the width. And you can
Okay.
also
Change the margin or whatever, like the right.
you can change your margin and you can change your padding too. They all have every element has padding and margin. I don't think I brought that up. Think of where that is. You can also change your column widths, right? Right now, this is 12 columns. So if I wanted to make it, say 2 columns, it would change that, but we'll change the width. I'm going to change my border width and I'm going to say, let's see what 10 does. Did it do what I wanted? Nope.
No.
But it did change the width, didn't it? It
Yeah.
changed the width of the border.
I mean, I like it. It looks pretty nice.
We can change the height. I think we can anyway. Usually you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there yeah, there's height and I think there's width, but isn't there like
Oh, nope. See, it's going to yell at me. It's an unknown property, so it won't let you change the height.
oh well can you just put down like height instead of like border width? No, maybe that might not work.
We could try height. Why not? Let's try. So it gives you more height here. So we can make it really
Yeah.
big.
Let's try like 50 or something.
So that gave the border a height of 70, right?
Yeah. Can we
Really
change
big.
the top and can we change the top and probably bottom? No, just the top. Can we make the top go down? This is yeah. Maybe like negative or something. Or yeah, never mind.
Karen, Brandy said, can you go back to the HTML file, please?
So how would we shrink the border instead of it being the entire page?
Can you wrap it around just Taco and Tuesday? by like having a div or or a span.
You want me to put it in a div? I'll put it in a div.
Can we put it in a span so that we can like probably keep today is Taco Tuesday and just isolate the taco and Tuesday in the border?
Oh, what did I do? Not what I wanted. See what happens when you don't use the right one all the time. There we go. Okay, so I put it in a div. Did it change anything? Nope. So how do we get the border to not be the entire page?
Can you do fit content instead of like I don't know, like width and the height, just changing it so that it only wraps around like today is Taco Tuesday.
So you want me to change, you want me to do fit the content? How would I fit the content?
Maybe I think it might be like position. Maybe I might be wrong. Like the attribute position.
So you want me to do position?
Yeah, maybe. And then maybe it's fit content. I might be wrong. What's in the attribute? Like instead of relative, we can.
So I changed the position, I added
Yeah.
position to it. That didn't do anything to it.
No, I didn't. Do you think we can remove like width and height and then change the relative to like fit content instead of a yeah.
Position doesn't do fit content.
Oh, okay.
If
Never
you go,
mind.
if you try to do position, and I'm going to show you, if you put in here, when you put in your colon, it gives you all of the attributes, styles that you have to choose from. So it can be absolute, it can be fixed, it can be relative, it can be static, it can be sticky.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah,
position
no.
isn't what's going to change our border, right?
Right. No, that's
What's
all
going
wrong.
to change our border?
So I think you're gonna do div ID page and then style equals width.
So you want me to give the div an ID
Yes.
of what?
Page.
Okay.
And then style equals width. And we can do the width at see, I don't know how to figure this out, which I think this would be where the grid would come as key to figure out the width.
So you know that you have 12 columns, right? If we wanted that to be, say, 3 columns.
That would be 300 px.
You want to do 300 px? That's kind of big, but
I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. I know why you said it, because everything is divisible by 12, right?
Yeah. Okay,
But
so
look
that's
what
too
you
big.
did. See?
So it would probably be 150 then.
If you want to get it
probably
close
take
to
up
that,
2 columns.
if you want to get it close to that Taco Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So you can do that. So if you did width 150,
You have to save. Did you save it? That's closer. Oh, but then Taco Tuesday is in 2 lines. How do you get it closer?
So this is the right, because this is in a div, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you, we know that it moved that down in because now your div is only 150 pixels wide. So anything inside that div, the most it can be is 150 pixels wide. So if we changed it to 200,
Okay. That makes sense.
so if you think about it, we put even though we put a border around the P tag, that's inside of a div. So we can actually, let's see, you gave that an ID of page, right? Caitlin, you need to do the dot ID dot with when you're hitting the ID. Like I want to do dot page.
Nope, it's nope, that's class. It's a hashtag.
Oh, that's right. It's
Mhm.
so we'll do solid. And we'll make this one red. And we'll make it 10px. You see how that worked? So this
Can
is
you
part of,
open up your the visual?
you want the Visual Studio Code?
Yes, thank you.
So you gave that div an ID, right? We targeted that ID in our style sheet. Right here. We said, hey, this div has an ID of page. So I want you to find that ID and I want to have a border that's solid, a red solid border that's 10 pixels wide. And then we took and we said, hey, there's a P tag in there, but we didn't give an ID. We don't need to because it's targeting the element. And we said, we want that P tag to have a solid black border of 5 pixels. And the border top is 20. But if we take that out, so this is your div, and then this is your P tag.
Can you show the HTML side again?
Yep, I sure
Thank you.
can. We can move that style and we can put it inside the ID in the CSS sheet, right? So if we take this style, the width of 200 pixels, do you think it's going to change anything if we move it? If I take this out and I bring it over to our style sheet and I come over here and I add it, but I don't want those. We add our width of 200 pixels, right? And we save it. Is it going to make it look different? Nope. So instead of writing all of this in line here and making it harder to find where all of your styles are, it's better to use in the style sheet.
That makes sense because then you would be able to read it clearer. And pick that up what you're putting down.
That's what you want to do. You want to make your code readable. so that if somebody else comes in and wants to read your code, they can say, oh, there's an ID for that div. So let me go check the style sheet and see what's related to that ID. Does anybody have any questions?
Mel wants to know, shouldn't we use class and not ID?
You can use class, yes. If you wanted to target just that div, you would use an ID. If we put another div in here, and put a p tag in here, I don't know. So if we save that and refresh it, how come I got this?
Because I made it an ID instead of a class.
Right, but why did I get the border when I put that in there?
Because the border is around all the paragraphs.
Very good. Sarah has it. That's exactly why.
So
Because
Luna, you were right about the red border being
Yes.
the ID part.
Right. That's why that one doesn't have it. This top one, you gave this top div an ID, and we gave that a style in the style sheet, right? We targeted, so it's targeting this particular div right here. That's around the Taco Tuesday. Then we added another div, but this div does not have any type of ID or anything associated with it, which is why the red border did not show up.
And then Sarah made a good observation about the p tag. So that's what happens when you just style an element by itself, is that it applies it to every one of those elements that you use on your page. So
Yep.
if you don't want all your paragraphs to look the same, then you have to give them classes or IDs. If you want them all to look the same, then that's perfect.
Every time I add one, it's going to look the same. But if I come in here, now let's give this a class. And we'll say, I don't know. Oh no, I don't want to use a color. That's bad.
Just call it weather or something.
We'll just call it cat. I don't know. So now if I come over here and a class is going to have a dot in front of it. So it still has a border and it's still the same length, but it's a different color because we gave it a class. Right? So we put a class on this p tag, but this one didn't. If we use the class on this one, it'll change it. And if we put the class on this one, so the class can be used on all of them. But if I now try to take the ID, right? And I want to put it on this div too. I can give this a different one, and I can say, give it an ID. Ooh, I didn't want to go there. Give it an ID of book. So classes, IDs, styling, you can style just the element. You can use a class to style. You can use an ID to style. And you can change your width. You can change your height, right? If we target the bottom one, well, actually, we'll target the top one and go into the book. And we're going to give it a height. We'll say 25 pixels. So it looks funny, right? So my border's running right through my P tag now.
So I want you all to try something. Try to give one of your divs a class and an ID and style both of those and see what happens. Give one of your divs a class and style it, and then give the same div an ID and style it a little bit different and see what happens.
Right. So if let's do what Caitlin said. We'll give it this one another class.
Use the class you already have.
Which one? The cat?
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
If you guys are coding along and you've tried what Caitlin, when you get done doing what Caitlin asked, just give a thumbs up so we know that you're done.
Sweet. Okay. Nice. Okay. So someone who finished, tell me what happened to your div or your element that you did it on.
Unmute yourself, Latanya, if you're talking. I see you over there talking, but I can't hear you.
I'm talking to myself. It's the sign of genius.
Or do something on the CSS side. Well, Susan, you need to make sure your class and your ID both have styles in your CSS style sheet.
So the style sheet, here's the style sheet.
So your ID is gonna have the hashtag in front of it and or the pound sign, and then your class is gonna have a dot.
The class always has a dot. The class will always start with a dot. And if you're targeting just the element itself, like with the P tag, I didn't put anything there. I just did a P tag and I just hit the body tag and it knows that that's what it needs to go after.
Okay, I don't know. I'm sort of lost. I don't really understand what's happening, but it's okay.
Who's that?
Me, Susan.
Oh, Susan. Okay.
Like, I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I just wanted to try to emphasize the difference between a class and an ID and the idea of specificity. So if you have a class like this class cat that Karin has, that's a blue border,
Mhm.
and you put that on your P tag or your element that you're styling, and then you add an ID, say you add ID book, and you make it a green border, that HTML and that style sheet is going to take the more specific style. So if you have a class and an ID on your element, it's going to look like whatever you styled that ID. So no matter how much you change this class cat, you can change that blue to purple, to red, to yellow, and it will still show up green because you have the ID associated with that element.
So the
Right.
ID supersedes everything.
Yes, because it's extremely specific. So does that
Okay.
clarify the ID class thing for you guys?
Yeah, like right here where we're looking at this, where it says ID book and class cat, the ID book is just going to overrule, even though she has it with cat, because.
Exactly.
Okay, so I don't, why
So
would you have, but why would you have both then if it's just going to overrule it?
So that's a good question. You might have an ID specifically just for when you want to use some JavaScript, for example, and you only want to target a very specific div or a very specific button on your page. But you might use a class on that button as well because you want all your buttons to look the same, right? But you don't want to use, like, you don't want your JavaScript to target all of your buttons. You only want it to touch one button, for example, right? So that's
Yeah.
when you use an ID more, like that's when an ID would come in handy in a more common scenario. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So like
Thank you.
throughout your page, if you wanted all of your buttons to be blue, you could use a class and it'll make all of your buttons blue. But then you get into, say, your login button or you want that to be something specific and to do something specific, you're going to give it an ID so that it will only target that one button. It'll still be blue because you gave it the class and all of your buttons are blue.
Mhm.
But when you give it, as soon as you give it that ID, it'll say, oh, this has an ID. So now let me see what it has to have with it.
And you can change certain things in the class and certain things in the ID, but if you have the same property associated with each one, it's going to take the border property, for example, we have them on the class and the ID. It's going to take the ID border over
Right.
the class border.
Right. So, because we have the cat and we have the book, and they both have a border, and one is blue and one is green, but it's going to take this one because this is the ID. So it's always going to use that border for that ID no matter what.
Latonia, you have a question?
Yeah,
ahead.
so on mine, I have both the ID and the border from the paragraph. Is that one supposed to still be on there also? Like, would I
Yeah.
have to go back and delete? Okay, so it's supposed to, they're both supposed to be on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's a different element. Yep.
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else have any questions? Let me check chat. Okay. I think we're good to move on, Karen, if you wanted to continue.
Okay, how you guys feeling? You guys all right? Do you have questions? Brielle's good. Linda's good.
Cool. Oh,
Okay, Kyle's got a question.
awesome.
Yeah, I just, how did you get those, like on your CSS sheet, there's a little color next to each. I'm typing the words that you're typing, solid black 5px, but it's just the words and it's not actually showing up in my file for the border.
Oh,
The border's not appearing.
it might be a setting. Are your borders showing up like when you open your
No.
HTML page?
So
Did
I
you
think
put
I
the-
must be typing something wrong, or
Did
I
you
don't
put
know.
color in there? So it's, you have like solid and then red and then 10px.
Yeah, I mean, I did some different colors, but yeah, I was trying to put a black border around an image that I had in the.
Double check and make sure you have like all your curly braces and your colon and your semicolon.
Okay.
Is that
And make sure that depending on which one you're targeting, if it's the ID, make sure that you have the hashtag and or £sign in front of it, and definitely double check these.
You want to
Make sure
share your screen or something, or are you good to figure it out?
If you want to go on to the class, we can look at it at the end or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
Do you type the word color?
What about it? What?
Shaw, are you talking about typing the word color in the border? No, you can just type the word, like the word that is the color you want. So like you can just type black or red or blue.
So a couple of you have already mentioned that you played with images, right? But we're gonna go over that. The Zoom thing drives me crazy. We'll do that actually. So I'm just
Karin,
gonna grab. Sorry.
If you want to hide the Zoom toolbar, and this is a good note for anyone else who is sharing their screen, if you hit Command, Alt, Shift, and H, it will hide that toolbar for you. You just need to remember that key sequence to get it back so you can stop sharing your screen as well. But that's Command, Alt, Shift, H.
Sure, if I knew where the Alt button was on my, because
Alt is right between Control and Command.
oh well, because mine says Option.
Oh, same thing. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oops. Brielle, do you have a question?
Yeah. So one of the videos for the homework, the guy in the video went to a website to get his picture of pancakes from something called Unsplash, and I was wondering if there were certain sites that to go to for like uncopyrighted images or anything.
That's one that I like. There's a bunch. I don't know, Max, if you know.
Yeah, there are a couple. I mean, there are a bunch that you can go to for that.
Unsplash is definitely the biggest source of them. For this example, we won't worry too much about where you pick your picture from, but you do bring up a good point on copyright. You can't just use someone's image because you find it on the internet. And it is possible that you get a very nasty letter from a lawyer screaming at you to not use an image that you do not have the permission to use. So unsplash.com is a great place to go to pick out free what we call stock images or kind of placeholder images. I know there are others out there. Pixabay is one of them, Pixabay, but Unsplash is definitely my go-to for royalty-free images.
So you guys can search for any type of image that you would like. When you click on it and it brings it up over to the side here, if you right click, you can come down where it says open image in new tab. And Max is probably going to say he does it a different way, but
I just copy image address.
where? Oh, okay. I guess I never noticed that before. I see what happens when you learn things differently. Max taught me something new. I had never noticed that. So you can do that as well. Copy image address. If you click on that, we come back in here. Did you guys put it? If you haven't put an image tag in, please put one in. Just type IMG and tab, and it'll give you these things inside of there. We're going to click in between the quotes on the source. And then you're going to paste that address in there. I just made it made my stuff all crazy now. VS Code, Max, VS Code. I can't see my bar on the bottom, that's why. Once you get your image pasted in there, save it. Ready? Ta-da! There's your image. What are you laughing at over there? I see you laughing, Caitlin.
Max.
Yeah, I know.
I told him he scared me and sent me a gift. Made me laugh.
Did everybody get an image to show up? Bentley's got theirs up.
See some thumbs up. Bentley.
Theirs up. Okay.
Can we go back to the code for a moment, please?
Yes, I absolutely can do that for you.
Thank you.
What was that? Alina.
So you'll notice when we first put that in there, if I can find the bar on my code editor because I can't see anything. Maybe. Honestly, I hate VS Code. Sorry. It's not my. I can't see. What the hell? When we first put that in there before we put our image in there, there's this little alt tag right here. That's the tag where, and Dana, it's going to be Dana, right, Caitlin? That's going to go over all that.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dana's going to go over all of that with you so that people who have trouble seeing, what's the word I want to use? Visual.
Tooltip.
Yeah, it's not, but it is. Dana will go over that with you. That is the tag that you will use in order to allow like screen readers and stuff to give the description of what the image is. Leaving it isn't going to hurt anything right now. You're okay to leave it the way that it is. How's everybody doing with images? Tanya's good. Shaw's good. What did I leave out, Caitlin? I feel like I left something out.
Or what?
I don't know.
Like for this little thing, or for like in general?
Just in general.
Oh. We might have to get to Flex tomorrow. But I think that was the last thing left.
Yeah, I hadn't. Yeah, because there's a half an hour. We got about a half an hour left. So
I would start doing the wireframe from yesterday.
yeah. Okay. All right. If everybody is feeling pretty good about all of that, we are going to, and I'm cheating. We want to make a new folder in our CIC folder. And we're going to start our wireframe that we looked at yesterday. So go into your CIC folder on your desktop and create a new folder that says wireframe. You can close out the files from the HTML folder. I hate VS Code because I don't know how to work it. After you've created your folder, if you close out VS Code and then open it back up and hit up here in the corner, in the left-hand corner, looks like two pieces of paper. You'll see this where it says open folder. Go to your desktop, go into your CIC folder, highlight your wireframe folder and open it up. There's not going to be anything in it because we didn't put anything in it yet. When you guys have that open, let me know. What's the question, Kyle?
I was just gonna say, I also got to that by going to file open in VS Code rather than closing the whole thing out.
Yes, you can. Once you guys have that open, start an index HTML file. Let's see if you guys can remember how to do that. Does everybody have an index HTML file open?
Do.
Can you guys see that? The
No,
wireframe from yesterday?
yes, in the
Okay,
corner.
yep.
If you, yep. So, I'm just getting on the computer right now. I know we have like probably 20 minutes left of the class, but
I dropped the link to the wireframe from yesterday and the link in the chat if anybody wants to pull it up on their screen.
Thank you. So we're gonna start trying to lay this out, right? And we're just gonna take it one piece at a time. So if we break it down, we can start with the header. Always do that. So how many divs do we need in our header?
let's see,
5
one,
of them.
2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I said what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Yeah, just 5 for the each letter. I see multiple boxes though, so maybe.
Well, Jonia says 3, Mel says 4, Dominique says 5.
Yeah, 5 just for each I guess like word.
So do we want to break it down by the word? One for logo. What do we do about this space in between?
So then would it be 12?
Well, you're working on the grid system, right? Which is 12 wide.
Yes.
Okay, so if we broke it down into 5, we still have these 2 columns here that don't have anything in them.
So then you would break it down to 12. Well, we're building the grid system, correct? So then you would need to start with 12.
You'd always start with 12, yes. It always starts with 12. So when you put anything that you put in here, if we put, not that I can type.
What was the shortcut that you used again after you did the document type to get all of that to pop up without typing it?
Exclamation point and tab.
Okay.
So we had logo that's right here in the corner. If we just type logo in the header, right? It's right here in the corner. In the header. So if we create our style sheet. Just to see where it's at, if we target the header and give it a border, maybe. If I add it. So the header is already 12 long, right? So what happens if we add the rest of the words? Should they be out inside something? So put them in a div and then add them?
Would a semicolon separate them? Or, oh, you said that div, okay.
Right. If I put a div and I put logo in there. How do we get them next to each other?
Do we need to make columns?
Yes, we do. Does everybody have in their index HTML and a CSS file up?
Yeah, I'm close. It's almost done.
Okay, we just want to make sure that everybody is caught up to this point. Who does not have index HTML and a CSS for the wireframe?
I'm working on it, but I'm listening and learning while listening, so I can put it into practice later. I'm fine.
I don't have it, Karen.
I don't either, but we will survive.
Okay, I mean, we only have a few more minutes of class left. So if everybody's good at this point, who's at this point, if you guys want to head out, you're more than welcome. If you want to stick around and have questions, that's great too. We can answer whatever we need to. We just want to get started at this point so that tomorrow everybody's at this point when we start off. Yes,
Dominique, you have a question?
Yes. How did you get to the CSS? I have everything up there, up until that point, and then when I get to the border, it's like I don't see any option to. I must have missed that part.
So this line right here,
Uh-huh.
this is how you link your style sheet to your HTML sheet.
Okay.
Make sure that we have that in there. If you type in link and hit tab, it'll fill the rest of it in, and then you have to type in style.css.
Let me see. It's underneath title. Okay.
And make sure both of your files get saved. I do that a lot. I'll save one and the other one doesn't save.
You gotta make sure you click on it so it knows that's what you're saving. I made that mistake a couple times. This is how I learn.
I think I've done it about 5 times already, Carolyn, because
Oh, yeah.
I'm not used to this editor.
You know, it just seems to be, there needs to be a module just about, you know, the rites of passage to become a developer, which isn't any of this stuff. It's just the whole thing of like having to cope with crashing systems and Zoom meetings and and we should have it at a bar or something. That would work.
Did you get it to come up, Dominique?
No. Was I supposed to hit oh, hold on.
Do you want to share your screen maybe and we can help you through it?
Yeah, let me see if I could do that. Hold on.
One quick question while
Can you
she's
go
doing
back to
that
your
for
CSS screen? Is there anything on there?
I just put a border just so that we could see where the header was.
Okay.
It says you cannot share your screen while
hold on.
others. Okay, I'm sorry.
for title, it says document, but I went ahead and put in a title. Is that okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My memoirs. Where'd you go?
Okay, so Dominique,
Mm-hmm.
up at the top where you created the index HTML.
Yeah.
So next to like wireframe, where it says wireframe, if you hover, see that the file where with the add plus, the first one, click on that, and you're going to type style.css. Nope, lowercase s. Now hit enter. There's your CSS file.
Ah, okay.
So
So it was
now
a
you're
different file.
connected. And if you want, you can just put, all I have in there is I put header and I gave it a border so that we would know where they were.
Okay. So we'll do
Nope,
header, or
just header. You don't need the opening tag. And then curly brackets.
is there a space or no curly bracket or no space?
Yeah, you can put a space. Yep.
Okay.
And then in there, you can hit enter and hit type border. Hit enter or tab. And then you can do, I just did a solid black 2px, I think.
P.
And then save that file and your index HTML file. And then you can go into your desktop, into the folder. Yep. And then just, yep. Nope. Yes. There
Oh,
you go.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Put my hand down.
Cool. I just caught up, so everything is good on my end.
Okay.
I'm gonna go and experiment, I guess, to see what else I can do for next class. Thank you for the lesson, and I'll just go back over through YouTube, even though like I was listening to everything, but I wasn't able to see the whole entire time, so I'm gonna just double check the visual things. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, later.
Is there any
everybody else
homework?
doing?
Is there any homework? Just before class is done.
You guys, I'll give you some, you can go into free code camp and I'll put it up in the classroom. You can go into free code camp if you want and do like HTML and CSS. And I'll put like how many, just take a screenshot of like the check marks that you have. It's just HTML and CSS. I don't know. I mean, they don't have to be due tomorrow. They, as long, I would say by Friday is good. And I'll put that in the classroom and I'll put it in the Slack.
Okay, and also I think I saw that we need to make sure to upload our wireframes from yesterday to Google Classroom.
Yes.
There's a submit form. Okay, thanks.
Shantina, what can I help you with?
I'm just having an issue with
Okay.
my border.
Do you want to share your screen and we can take a look?
Yes. Oh, sure. Is this mine? Is that mine or yours?
No, that's yours.
Okay. I don't know if I entered this incorrectly.
No,
or
that's right. Okay, go back to your HTML file for me.
HTML file up here.
Nope, you're in it. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Max or Caitlin, do you see why her border is not appearing? Because
I do. So remember all of the terminal stuff with the file paths and the CD in and out? What's happening right now is your code is looking for style.css in the wireframe folder. And so if you look at index.html, you may notice that it is one level more indented than that style.css file. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on wireframe over on the left. And then click on show in reveal in Finder, the third one down. And so this is just a quick way to jump in to see your files outside of VS Code. And so you'll notice your style.css is hanging out in the CIC folder. But if you open up wireframe, you'll find that your index.html file is in there. So what's happening is your style sheet is not in the same folder as your index.html. So it's struggling to find it. So the quick fix for that is if you click that back button and just drag and drop it in place, you can now close your Finder window and close your, you can hop back to your browser and hit the refresh button and you should find your border is there.
Did I do that?
Yeah, so it's super easy in VS Code or really anywhere where you're creating your file to create it at the wrong level or in the wrong folder. So sometimes I like to come out of my code editor and go into Finder just to make sure everything is where I think it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I got as far as you saying to make another folder, and I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, where's your folder, Karen?
Don't know. How come I can't see you? I don't see anything. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Oh, okay. I have no idea. I thought it was on the desktop here.
Is it that one? The one that says Untitled folder? So You want to see if you can right click on that. And we're going to rename it. Wireframe. Now hit enter. Okay, so you're gonna go to VS Code. The second one in from your trash can on the bottom. Nope. Right there. So you're gonna close that file out.
The first one?
The one that says Untitled 1. Close that out. You can close the welcome out. At the top where it says file, up at the very top, it says code file.
Here.
Yep. Open. You're going to go to your desktop. And you're going to click that wireframe. You're going to highlight wireframe. And you're going to open that. So you can close out the welcome. In the VS Code. Nope. Right in. Yep. Now next to wireframe, remember we're gonna create a file. Yep. Yes. Index.html. Lowercase. Yep. Hit enter. And then click again to create another file.
This one here?
Yep. And it's style.css. Enter. Okay, now you can go to the index HTML one. Exclamation point tab. Nope. You're hitting a 1.
Wait a minute. Sorry about that.
Tab. There you go. And then in the body part, you're just going to put a header.
Here.
And we did 2 divs with a logo, with one with logo and one with home.
Header. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, like that?
Yep. And then in there, put logo and then do another one and put home. Nope. Don't do it in that. Do it outside that other div. Hit enter. Do another div. And put home. Hit backspace. You can take that out of there. You only need 1. Keep going.
Oh, no. Wait a minute.
2 more. Back up 2 more. There you go.
Okay. Enter.
Command save.
Command save.
Yep. Command S. So now if you go back to your desktop
Okay, back to desktop.
Yep, just click on that right there. Yes, click on there. Go inside the wireframe folder and click on the one that says index HTML. Double click it. There you go.
Okay. All right.
So you're caught up. Do you want to stop your?
Yeah.
Shantina, you have your hand up still? You have a question? No? Okay.
Susan, did you still have a question? Are you all set? From before.
I'm definitely going to be using the video from tonight. That would be very helpful.
Just with the image source thing with the little test page I was doing, I still have it as text and not an image. It's not a big deal. I mean, we can do it whenever.
We can
just
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know. It looks right, and I feel like I did it right, and I dropped the copy thing into the quotes, but it's not doing an image. But I don't even know how to get back to that within the code, within this VS code.
You can open a new window if you want to have two editors open, or you could just, I don't want you to close the one you're working on if you don't want to close it. So we could do it at a different time if you want, but.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're done with this for today, right?
I mean, we can help you get it done if you want to see it. That's why we're here.
Okay.
You want to
So-
share your screen?
Sure.
Did you just want us to have logo and home on there and then stop for tonight?
Yeah, if you want to try and get the header of the wireframe done, you most certainly can.
Okay.
We're gonna get that finished up tomorrow and go over Flexbox.
Okay, you can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I get out of this to the,
So you don't have to close that one out if you're still working on that one. Go
Okay.
up to where it says file
yep,
and do new window. That'll open another whole editor.
okay,
You
Then
can
file again.
up here?
or you can either one. You can either go there or you can go to the side. Up, yep. And it'll say open a folder.
Oh yeah, that too, yep.
And then you can go to the one where the first one that you want to get to.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
And
just click
Just
Open?
hit open. Yep.
okay, don't need that. Okay.
There you go. Ah, okay. So image is an element tag, right?
Oh, it should be within the div maybe?
Yes.
Or no?
Yep, it has to be within the div, and you're also missing a symbol in front of the IMG.
So is it before like where?
So the div is a tag, right?
Oh, actually, put that back. Do command.
Oops.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Oop.
that just doubled it up.
It's okay. There you go. Press enter. Okay. So now it looks like it's inside. But you're missing something on that image tag. How do all tags have to start?
I don't know.
Look at the div.
With carrots.
Yep.
Yes.
You need the less than, and then you need the if you go all
At the bottom, there's the bar, that bar. will allow you to slide all that over.
Oh, that's so much easier.
Yep, and then you need to add the one at the end.
Like that?
Yep. Now save it and then refresh
Okay.
for a page.
Oh. What
You
happened?
might have to reopen it because she closed the editor. Just go to your desktop
Yeah.
and go in the folder again. Go in, yeah, and now double click, yep. There
Oh,
you
it
go.
worked. Hey, all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, that'll happen again. Trust me. I had a couple of days where I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with this code? Why is it not working? I finally had to go and start at the top and make sure that every single one had an opening and a closing tag and or an opening and a closing bracket, or just everything had opening and closing.
Yeah. That definitely happened to me when I was doing the prep. Like I couldn't see stuff. I had my boyfriend look one day because I was like, what is wrong? And I just had misspelled a word and I just couldn't see it.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
It still
Alright,
happens. It happens all the
Oh,
time.
I bet.
All the time.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the sharing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Quickie, the wireframe that we did yesterday, I did not actually have anybody look at mine during the class. I just want to have to look at it and see if it looks like it might possibly be on the right.
Karin, you posted that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Okay. Yeah.
Was it okay?
Yes.
I wasn't sure because that was the first time I did the whole Slack thing. All right.
It looked good.
Yeah. You can upload that to the Google Classroom.
Okay. All right. I'll figure that out tonight. All righty. So I'm good.
How's everybody else doing?
I'm actually searching for a link that Laura sent me. So if you could not close out just yet, so I can find, I saved it. I have so many monitors going.
Okay.
I have a question about the Zoom chat. Will we have access? I mean, it's a classroom thing. Will we be able to look through the chat for, like she was saying, if there's a link or something later?
That's a very reasonable request. Sorry, I just had a flashback at work of, yeah, that's a great feature idea, and you'll get it in the next couple weeks.
So you can, as the host, Max, we can save the chat as a file.
Yeah, and Dana, was the plan to kind of just copy and paste that into a Google Doc?
They are being repoed into a Google Doc. And you wanted to look them over, Max. So just waiting to get some feedback from you when you have time.
Gotcha. I will look that over and then we'll share in Slack when they are posted so you can catch up on those.
Because that would be great, because, you know, there's a lot of redundancy, which is wonderful, but there's always something where I didn't get it here or there, or, you know, so if it's something that you didn't post, but another student mentioned or something, that would be very helpful. So thank you.
What I'm trying to do in the meantime, until we can review those to see how we want to roll those out, is I'm just taking a little bit of time just to go through them and grab links where I can to put in the resources page that we put into module 2. I'll also go back through module 1 through the chats that we had with Max to see if there are any links that I can pull from there to put into resources also. And then just so that folks aren't jumping around, so Google Classroom and Slack are our main hubs, but eventually things start to delete themselves from Slack as we put more and more content there. So the main hub as we move along for looking for content is going to be your Google Classroom. So once we come up with that definitive answer, just like you can go in Classrooms now and you can see the links for all of the videos, I'm going to create another section for the chats. So you can just click on it from Classroom and go there. So that's it. That's it for me. Great job, everyone, tonight. Latanya, I heard you mention you have a bunch of monitors. How many monitors do you have?
It's just 3. I have the big one,
Oh,
and then I
just
have both the Macs, but I'm working off of both Macs on one of them.
Oh, that's
So
right.
I'm
You're a graphic
swiping.
designer.
Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do is minimize you all and then like move this up to the big screen because I think it'll just work better. Like today was my dry run with the swiping, so I'll get there.
I've been trying to figure out screen positioning also, but in the meantime, as you all saw and experienced yesterday, I have a glitch with my adapter. So I actually have to run out to the store and get something so that my screens aren't glitching. I'm actually just on my small screen tonight, so.
You look cozy though. Was it nice?
Sitting
just
in
to
my
sit down?
recliner. I'm sitting in my recliner. Yeah.
Cup of tea, I hope.
No
Something.
tea. I am feeling a little cozy though. I just got done eating some Chinese food. I ordered out tonight.
Awesome.
Tried something a little different.
Where do you order from?
It depends on the day. Tonight was PF Chang's.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the smaller plates from Cheesecake Factory. What do you call those? The things that you eat before dinner? Refresh.
Appetizers, starters, they have all kinds of names.
The appetizers.
Servers.
Yeah, because they send the brown bread, that brown whole wheat bread, and their fresh Irish butter is like the best. It's second to the bread that they'll send you from Red Lobster.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
you know, Avicoli's in Fayetteville.
Never heard of them.
It's owned by the same people that own the Bull and Bear pubs.
Okay.
Very excellent. We had not gone there before, and of course COVID, so we tried the other day. Let's go, right? The portions are enough for an army, so it's really economical. The bread is amazing, the garlic butter is amazing, and we ended up bringing home the second loaf of bread they brought us. So I got like 4 meals out of my lasagna and bread. It's great.
Yeah, Latanya reminded me the other day that I'm feeling the need for the starches in the cheesecake with applesauce. I pulled out my applesauce earlier today, so that was good.
I'm an applesauce person too. Yeah, it works. Well, awesome. I'm gonna check the chat here. Whoops.
Looks like mostly everyone is cleared out.
Okay, folks, I'm gonna head out. It was wonderful. Thanks for the memories. Do it again tomorrow.
Thanks for the memories. I you crack me up. You are so cool. I'm walking the tightrope tonight, but we'll be all right. Good night.
Good night. So, I'll wait till the other students get done. I'm just doing the end of night check-in, as I said I would do, just in case you needed anything as far as Google Classrooms, Karen.
No, I'm
Everything's
putting
seemed
up.
to work out with that.
I'm putting their homework up right now.